Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to our first Build the Change Tuesday live lesson of the year. Okay, I'm Natalie and I'm one of the teachers here at the day, and I'm going to be leading you through this brilliant lesson. And I've also got two very special co-presenters with me and two very special guests. So the first presenter is Priya. Say hello, Priya.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, so Priya is a journalist and she's going to be looking at all your questions and putting those to our experts later on today. And we've also got David Pallash from Lego. He is Lego sustainability expert. He's a driving force behind Build the Change, and he's also a conservationist. And we've got two really special guests, which I hope we can see as well. We've got Dr. Ollie Jones, who's an a sustainability innovation expert, and also Fiona McGain, who is an outdoor learning and she's a nature expert from the London Wildlife Trust. So say hello, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
And these lovely people, can you see them? This is our Year 7 geography class from Holyhead School in Handsworth in Birmingham. Okay, so why are we here today? Well, we're in our hometown of Birmingham today because it's World Habitat Day and it's Urban October. You may or may not know that habitat means home and urban means city. So here we are in Birmingham, which we all know and love. So today we're going to be setting you a special city-themed Lego challenge. And the only things you're going to need in order to take part is a piece of paper. Have you all got paper? Yeah. Have you all got pens? Yeah, hold them up. And the most important thing is your imagination. Does everyone have an imagination? Yeah. Thumbs up. Yes, brilliant. Okay. So to get that imagination warmed up, I've got a special creative thinking exercise for you all to take part in. So this is especially for all the students and the pupils out there. Right, look at the question. What do you hope to see in a city of the future? Okay, I want you to all think about and visualize when you're all grown up and you're in your 30s, really scary right now. You've got jobs, you're living on your own, you're in a big city. What can you see around you? So everyone, close your eyes. Okay, start to visualize it. You're walking through your city. What can you see? What can you hear? Think of all of those sci-fi films you've watched. Right. What I want you to do is I want you to draw your vision of a future city. Okay, so I'm going to get you working on that now. You might want to see things like amazing inventions or smart tech or futuristic skyline, or you might just want to see maybe less poverty, happier people, greener transport. So we want to see all of your ideas. And while you're doing that, we're going to talk to your teachers and tell them a little bit more about the day and a bit more about Build the Change. So we're here from Lego and the Day. I'm sure you all know about Lego, but you might not know about the Day. So we are an online newspaper made especially for schools and for young people. And what we do is we turn news into lessons for busy teachers like you. So we have a special weekly resource called News Detectives, which is especially for younger students aged 7 to 13 or 14. And we work with my lovely co-presenter David and the Lego group on our Build the Change Tuesdays, which is a weekly news worksheet, which is free for all schools, courtesy of the Lego Foundation. And it's amazing because it reports on all of the amazing ways scientists and innovators are finding innovative solutions to people and planet problems. So it's really inspiring and really positive. So teachers, you can find us by following the link, which we're also going to share in the chat. And each week, what we do is we challenge young people to come up with their own designs and solutions to the problems we've looked at in the article. And it's really exciting because we put them up on a big gallery each week, so everyone can see it all around the world. And we also have a Build the Change Builder of the Week feature. So you can see it there. So we kind of give them a shout out in the News Detectives edition as well. David, do you want to introduce yourself properly and give a bit more information about Build the Change?
Sure. Can you all hear me loud and clear?
Yeah.
Great. Good to see you all. Welcome. Nice to see you all in the classroom over in Birmingham. Good stuff. I am sitting, well, I'm not going to tell you where I'm sitting yet. I'm going to reveal that later. But my name's David. I'm from the Lego Group. I've been in the Lego Group for about 8 years now, and I get the privilege of working, being very playful every day and connecting with young people around the world to talk about how they can make a positive difference for not only the environment, but society as well, and how we can use creativity to come up with ideas for a better future. And that's exactly what we've got on this screen now, this beautiful Earth, looking very healthy with people, happy people all over it. So Build the Change is all about that. It's about giving you young people out there a voice. Now we have a lovely product, the Lego brick. You can do anything with it. Why not use it to create ideas for a better future? So that's what I do, and I love it. And I love also working with the day. We have a lot of fun, don't we? We have a lot of fun creating the content each week. Well, I don't do much. I read it and enjoy it and say, wow, that's amazing most weeks, all weeks. So it's a real privilege to be on this call with you. I can't wait to show you which guests we've got and stuff. So I'll leave it there. Otherwise, I'll talk for hours. Handing back to Priya.
Thank you so much, David. So hello to everyone watching, especially everyone who's joined us online. I want this session and this lesson to be as sort of interactive as possible. So please do use the chat function. We want to hear from you guys. So teachers, if you can just tell us where you're tuning in from, that'd be amazing. And yeah, if you've got any questions, use the chat function to really kind of share those so that we can actually ask our experts at the end to answer those with time permitting. Roughly, we have about 250 schools joining us, as well as homeschool settings. So we're approximately broadcasting to around 4,800 students right now. So we're really excited to have you all with us. So please say hi in the chats because we want to hear from you. Okay, so we know how busy schools are, so we will be recording this session. So if you want to watch back, we will be sharing the link afterwards, and you'll also be able to find out about a competition as well. So we'll share this link in the chat as well. So yeah, if you're watching back, don't worry if you have any questions or if you want to be part of the competition, you can still apply. Just make sure you go onto the website and the link will be shared in the chat. But I'm really excited for this lesson and really excited to get to know you all a bit more. Thank you. Back to you, Natalie.
Thanks, Priya. Okay, so you've had enough time now, I think, to get those creative juices flowing. I bet you've got some really good ideas of what you would like a city of the future to look like. So we're going to have your ideas in a little bit. So put your pens down, looking at me and listening. So today's all about cities. Okay, so we learned the word urban earlier, and you can see from this slide, we've got 3 different types of areas. We've got urban, which is cities. We've got suburban, which are the kind of towns that live in between these big cities and built up areas. That's where I live. And then we've got the beautiful rural countryside, which exists on the fringe. That's got loads of nature, and it's absolutely beautiful and lovely place to go to. But today we're talking about cities. So me and Priya are here in Handsworth, which is our hometown. It's Birmingham. It's the 2nd biggest city. It's amazing and we love it. And it's also one of the greenest in Europe. David, where are you? It's time to reveal your city and what are your favourite cities?
Reveal, the big reveal. I am in London. I am in London town. Hopefully you've heard of London. And I'm sitting in a very special place which you'll hear more about in a second. But I've actually been lucky enough to live in around, I was trying to count, 8 cities around the world in my long years, including Detroit in the US and Tokyo in Japan, where I was for 12 years. And every city I've been in, I found pockets of nature and wildlife to explore. So it is there, and we'll hear more about that later. But shall we have a look at this slide? Because I would like, Natalie, if that's all right, to hear about everyone watching today and where they live. So we're going to get a little bit warmed up now because you went through just now, Natalie, the urban, suburban, and rural. Let's use this to get a bit active. So I'm actually going to stand up, and if you're in your classroom, I'd love you to stand up too, because is that all right? First of all, you're all standing in Holyhead. That's good. Now, the first thing I'd like you to do, if you live in an urban area, I want you to stand up and run on the spot as fast as you can. I'm going to show you how to do it. Here we go. You can't see my legs moving, so maybe I don't have to run so fast. That's it. Good. Now, stop. Now, everyone who lives in a suburban area, I want you to do some star jumps. So if you could, oh gosh, my old bones. There you go, star jumps like that. Haven't done one of those for about 20 years. Now, Very good. If you live in a rural area, we
Oh.
would love you to sit, well, no, not sit down. We'd love you to do some arm twists and grabs like this, if you can stand up. So hopefully in your class, you're seeing a mix. Maybe you're seeing a mix of people. You can all stop now and sit back. Hopefully your bodies are all warmed up and ready, and your brains equally. But I also have a big question for you. Now, this is a big topic for many. How many people around the world live in urban environments? So if we've got a slide here, we're gonna ask you the question first. So if I can have the next slide, that'd be great. What percentage of all humans live in the city? There we go. I love that picture. That used to be my old home, but I'm not going to tell you any more clues because I might use it later. So we would like you to discuss in your class and decide as a group. So there's a bit of teamwork there. Decide as a group what percentage you think right now humans live in cities. All right. So answer that question now. I'm going to answer it too. It's a bit unfair. I know the answer. So decide as a group. You might have different opinions, but work out which one is the answer you want to go for as a class and enter that. All right. And we'll see how everyone does. So let's see. Right. I mean, Holyhead, Natalie, I want to go over to you and just see how it's going.
Okay, well.
Okay, so we have got 10%, 50%, and so we've got 50% saying 70%. It's actually neck and neck.
Wow.
Yes, it's right in the middle,
Nice.
actually.
So quite
That's
a
really
lot of
interesting.
people. Here at Holyhead, we thought 50%.
You thought 50%. Well, I get to have the fun bit. I get to do the drum roll. So here we go. Drum roll. What was the answer? The answer was dun, 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 50%. It was 50%. So we've got a slide just to show you that. There we go. 50% of all humans live in a city. And the interesting fact that we hear a lot in our world of sustainability and all things lovely like that is that by 2050, 70% of all humans will live in cities. That means even more children than ever. You guys, young people, will be living in cities. So we need to make sure they are awesome as possible. So how old, I want to ask you another question. 2050 is 27 years time. How do you think the world will look in 27 years? First of all, how old will you be in 27 years? Can you put that in the chat? Let's see your ages. Let's see how old you'll be. So that's a bit of maths there. How old are you going to be in 27 years? Pop it in the chat. And start to think what you think world cities will look like when you're in your 30s. I think most of you will be in your 30s. Enjoy it. It's great. I had fun in my 30s. It was a good decade. Now, what do you want it to look like? Have a little think about that and pop it in the chat. All right, we'd love to see what you're saying, and I'd love to hear. Someone said 85. Someone's going to be 85 in 27 years. Still a spring chicken. Still a spring chicken, 85. Good. We got 40, 36, 39. All great years. Great things happen in all of these years. 48, 62. I won't say how old I will be in 27 years, but this is great. Now what we'd like you to think about what you want to see the world looking like in 27 years. Do you want to see amazing inventions? Do you want to see smart tech everywhere? Do you want to see futuristic skylines? Or do you imagine things like greener transport, flying cars, or just happier people, less poverty? Dare to dream big. All of these things are possible with bright young minds like yours. So let's see, we've got lots of computers and technology from James. That's a great one. Flying cars from Sophie, robots, AI controlling everything. Totally agree. Less children doing inside activities. I hope so. Green spaces, more green spaces. Yes, definitely, Ellie. Agree with that. Less pollution. Robots doing human jobs. More green spaces, automatic cars, flying cars, people flying. I love it. Flying cars, a lot of flight. So we can learn a few things from our feathered friends. Robots, more trees. I really hope all of these mushrooms. A lot more mushrooms. Mushrooms are very useful, and I learned that from our friend Dr. Ollie Jones, and how mushrooms are used in excuse me, sustainability. Children driving. I'm not sure about that. Maybe you'll be driving. Very good. Whoever's teleportation. There's a comment about Zoom. If I can urge my colleagues on the call just to check that if there's a tech issue. I love it. Very good. Flying dogs and cats. I think, Natalie, it's time to hand back over to you and hear from the school, Holyhead School, and what you guys thought.
Two people here that want to share their vision of a city of the future. Magdalene?
I think it's going to be futuristic, advanced and modern.
Futuristic, advanced and modern. I think that's pretty accurate. Brilliant. What about you?
As you said, modern, and it's going to be like buildings and everything that's going to take over nature.
Oh no, buildings that take over nature. Okay, wow. I think we're in the right place. Thank you. They were brilliant answers. Right, go and grab a seat. Okay, so did any of you think of this? Here we've got a slide in your visualization.
Slides are just coming up.
Slides just coming up.
There we go.
Next slide. Did anyone think of Okay, well, did anyone think of wildlife or nature? More wildlife. Did you want to see more wildlife like this? It's amazing. More wildlife and more nature in our cities. If you did, amazing. You read our minds. If you didn't, don't worry. We're going to share our vision for this with you today, because the first title of our first challenge is Wild Cities. Okay, but what is a wild city? So a wild city is one where humans share their space with lots of different varieties of plants and animals and birds and insects. And this is called urban biodiversity. If we can get the next slide up, I've got a lovely example, but I think one of our experts is going to talk a bit more about it. Next slide. So we've got an example here, and this is in Singapore, and this is called the Garden City. And it's amazing to think that in the 60s, just in 1965, it was a really polluted place, but they all got together and they decided to build the change there. And ever since, they've been growing and building this gorgeous, luscious green city, which is just a shining example of urban biodiversity, and it's gorgeous. So this is what we want to inspire you guys to do today. So after this lesson, you are going to pick a special city, and you're going to learn all about its wildlife and its nature, a bit about its weather, that kind of thing. And you're going to use everything that we've taught you today to reimagine a building so it helps local wildlife and plants and people to thrive. You're going to create your design using pen and paper, or if you want, you can use Lego bricks, or you can literally build it out of recycled materials. And then your parent or grown-up or teacher is going to take a picture of it and enter it into our competition. Simple, right? What could go wrong? Okay, so why do we need our cities to be wild? Well, I've been talking quite a lot, so I'm going to let Lego and this lovely video explain it in a little bit more detail. So we're going to play that in a second, but before we play that, I'm going to just check everyone's got their notebook, their paper. You got it? Yeah. Ready? You've got your pen. This time you need your listening ears as well. Brilliant. We're going to play this. If you see anything important or inspiring, make sure you write it down because you might need it for later. Okay.
This is Earth. Its climate, or usual weather, is different in different places. Hot or cold, wet or dry. Each place's climate supports habitats for living things, giving them what they need: food, water, and shelter. If the climate changes very quickly, it can impact those habitats and threaten the things that live there. Unfortunately, that's what's happening right now. Climate change means the usual weather all over the Earth is changing more quickly than ever in human history. One of the biggest changes is that things are getting hotter. This is called global warming. It's mainly caused by greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide going into the Earth's atmosphere when we burn fossil fuels like coal and oil. The climate's delicate balance means even small temperature changes can cause big changes everywhere, like hotter summers, colder winters, extreme weather like floods and storms, green places turning into deserts, and melting ice caps at the North and South Poles, making sea levels rise. Living things may not be able to find food and water and have trouble dealing with changing temperatures. Even the space they need to live may disappear. Every species, or type of living thing, is connected to all the others in a balanced ecosystem. So when a species disappears, others that rely on it are also threatened, and the ecosystem can collapse. Healthy and stable ecosystems need many species working together. We call this high biodiversity. When biodiversity is low, it's bad for all species, and that includes us. So to keep the Earth's ecosystems balanced and healthy, we need to find ways to slow down climate change and fix the problems it has already caused. Luckily, our creative human brains are great at tackling these kinds of challenges. By protecting biodiversity and habitats and making changes, like bringing plants back to our cities to take greenhouse gases out of the air, and moving to renewable sources of energy to stop the gases being released in the first place, and driving less, reducing pollution. But to limit the impacts of climate change, we'll need more creative ideas like yours. Together, we can build the change.
Awesome. I hope you enjoyed that. You're actually the first people ever outside of my little team to see that video. So I hope you enjoyed it. Certainly, big hats off to Ben, who created those animations. Great fun working with him on those. So biodiversity, you heard a little bit about there. We're really looking at, we're going to see it again. We're really talking about urban biodiversity today. And just to tell you a little bit about that, why it's important. Well, as you heard in the video, when we have high biodiversity, it's a lot of species living in the same space and working together, and it's healthy. It's good for us. It's good for wildlife. It's good for nature, which we are, of course, part of. But it's not always like that. I'll give you an example of a space that is low biodiversity in a city. A car park. Car parks. Concrete, maybe the odd little flower growing through a crack in the paper. Oh, it's so poetic. Maybe there's a little wildlife like that, but generally, if you look at a car park, there's not much living there. There's a couple ants, maybe a woodlouse heaving his body over to the other corner of the car park, but not much else. So that's low biodiversity. Now, high biodiversity is like somewhere I am right now. And I'm going to take you outside in a couple minutes to meet someone who can tell us more. But it's where we have a lot of habitat. We have a lot of different shelter, food, water. There's a lot going on, and we have a lot of species supported. Now, biodiversity is important because, of course, food chains depend on it, soil depends on it, air depends on it, we depend on it, healthy water depends on it. More things depend on it, and we need to take care of it. Now, I mentioned I lived in cities around the world. I've lived in like Tokyo, and in Tokyo, I used to see in the middle of the city a bird called the goshawk. Now, if you know what a goshawk is, it's not a common species in the UK, but over there, you get it flying through the city parks. It's incredible. You also get raccoon dogs walking around the streets at night. If you're lucky, you see them. And also another large mammal called a civet. We used to see a lot of those introduced from other Asian countries there. And then, of course, in London, I've been lucky enough to see a lot of reptile species. Even within London, I've seen adders, I've seen grass snakes, I've seen common lizards, I've seen not smooth snakes, but slow worms, smooth snakes as well, but a little bit further away. But life is here, and we're going to look a little bit into that in a second. You can see all these images here. I love these images. The one in the top left is, wow, that was a Natural History Museum prize-winning image of two mice fighting on a platform. Haven't seen that very often, but that's a pretty special sight. And then we've got other examples of nature and wildlife moving into urban areas. We've got polar bears, we've got raccoons, the monkeys lounging about on a lovely sofa. It looks like the sofa I used to have when I was a student. And then we've got squirrels and, of course, some owls there. I think those look like burrowing owls, perhaps, in the US. Excuse me. Now, if we have the next slide, we're going to play a little game. We're going to look at different animals that live around the world in different cities. Now, this is how the game runs. First, we'll show you a slide like this. with a group of animals and a location and a city map pinned on the map. Now, we would like you to then guess, is it Mumbai in India or Kanazawa in Japan? You can see, actually, I just mentioned raccoon dog. There is an image of a raccoon dog. We've got the tree frogs there, and we've got also the Japanese, oh, I don't want to say, the paradise flycatcher. Nearly gave it away. That was a tiny clue if you were listening. Put it in the chat. Which country or place or city do you think this is? All right. Maybe we can go to Holyhead and hear what they think. Holyhead, which one do you think it is? We've got a lot of answers coming into the chat. I'll let Holyhead answer.
Japan?
Correct. It is Kanazawa. Well done. Kanazawa in Japan. Now, this is a lovely place. I've had the privilege to visit, and this garden has tons of species living in it. They didn't realize, and if you know Japan, it's very, very built up. So when they found this pocket, so rich, so diverse in ecology, they wanted to protect it. So now the community are really involved to make sure that it thrives, it continues thriving. So very cool. I think we should play another game. So we're going to have another one now, and I'm going to give you 30 seconds to decide where this is. Guess the wild city. Is it Mexico City in Mexico, or is it to Helsinki in Finland? So if you answer the question poll now as a group, that would be great. So you don't, some coming in the chat, that's also fine. But if you answer the poll question, it's Mexico City or Helsinki. Those are the two choices. Or you can choose Finland as well. That's the same as Helsinki. Okay. So let's see what you think. Give you a bit of time to answer that. I'm going to talk a little bit about the species here. We've got possum on the bottom there. We've got an axolotl, which is a type of amphibian that lives in very, very, I guess, sensitive lakes where any changes to the habitat really can interrupt them. And then we've got a lovely hummingbird. Have we got an answer?
We've got 93% coming in at Mexico City there, David.
Amazing. Well, guess what, Priya? It's right. Well done. You got it. Don't worry if you didn't get it. You've learned something new today, and that's awesome. Mexico City, a very, very cool city. Now, you wouldn't believe it, but in and around, I'd say around Mexico City, 2% of the world's species are found. 2%, that is a lot. It may sound small, but that's out of 8-point-something million species. That's incredible. So Mexico has a lot of different habitats, and even around Mexico City, it has tons of stuff. So well done. Now we're going to do another one. By the way, 9 million people in Mexico City. 9 million. That's a lot. That is nearly double the population of Denmark, where Lego bricks come from. Now, this one, guess the wild city. Is it Toronto, Canada, or is it Cape Town, South Africa? All right, answers on the poll. Is it Toronto or is it Cape Town?
Canada? Does anyone else think anything different?
So they're working it out at the school. We've got some pictures there. There's some, I think that's a baboon harassing a lady with her shopping. That doesn't happen on Chelmsford High Street very often. And then we've got the, I believe they're jackass penguins, funny name, that live down the bottom. Correct me if I'm wrong. Now, I nearly gave it away again. Got to be careful, David. What's the answer? Priya, do we have an answer coming in?
Yes, we absolutely do. We've got 88% coming in for Cape Town in South Africa.
Wow, you are correctamundo. Well done. You did it. Excellent. You guys are good. You guys are really, really good. Now, of course, it's Cape Town. Cape Town is actually home to 50% of all mammal species found in the whole of South Africa. You can see a lot of stuff within Cape Town. And on their lovely tabletop mountain as well, you see some really interesting stuff. Wow, your geography skills rock and your team skills rock because you had to kind of answer that as a team. So well done. Now, I have only one more city for you to work out, but this one's a little different. Look at these animals, these wonderful animals. Now, which city do you think these live in? Which city are we talking about here? Now, you can put your answers in the chat. So we've got, of course, kingfisher, we've got an otter there, a water vole, we've got a beautiful adder, we've got a pipistrel bat, we've got a humpback whale, we've got a muntjac deer, and we've got some peregrine falcons. We've got some different answers coming in. I can see Chile, I can see Melbourne, Australia, Brazil, England. I saw, where else? We got UK, London, which city? New Zealand, Northeast, Everton, Wales, Edinburgh. Oh my goodness, some great guesses coming in here. I think we are ready to give you the answer. I think they're ready. It is London. It's London. Can you believe it? Now, I've been really lucky. I've seen all of these species except the humpback whale within London. And one, I have to say, my favorite is the adder. I love adders, and I love doing surveys for adders, trying to look for them and seeing how the populations are doing. A wonderful snake that you have to give a lot of respect to when you do see them. And of course, the kingfisher. Wow, I got to hold a kingfisher the other week because I do something called bird ringing, and we caught a kingfisher and I put a little ring on it, and then we let it go, and hopefully we'll see it again and collect more data on them. Anyway, I wanted to give you one more species in London that you might not know about. Seahorses. Isn't that cool? Seahorses also live here in the Thames. They come up, and when it, before it goes into freshwater, they thrive. So it's an interesting species. Anyway, we need to move on, and I will hand back to Priya to do that. Speak in a minute.
Thank you so much, David. Okay, so I've got the pleasure of speaking to Dr. Ollie, but before I do that, I just want to say Holly did really well in that task, and I think everyone was quite surprised that we had London show up as the place that has all these animals. Right, so Ollie, thank you so much for being with us today. Ollie, do you want to just tell us really, really quickly where you're from and what you do?
Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here. My name is Ollie Jones. I work at Cundall. It's a global engineering practice, and there I lead the sustainability work. And I'm lucky enough to work with an amazing team of people from all over the world, from engineers to architects, biologists and inventors. And every single day, we work to create buildings and cities that make people and our planet healthier. And I'm super happy to be on this call with you guys, talking about biodiversity and talking to the next generation of change makers. So thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ollie. So I just want to say to everyone, as we ask Ollie these really important questions, just think about any questions that you may have to ask Ollie at the end and drop those in the chat function. It's really important for us to get your questions across to the experts. Okay, so I'm going to jump right in, Dr. Ollie. Who are you? And so you mentioned about your job, and in terms of its importance, why is sustainability so important?
Oh my, I mean, sustainability touches every single aspect of what we do. It affects the food that we eat, it affects the temperature of our cities, it affects flooding, it affects rainwater, it affects absolutely everything about our lives. But I think key to that is, why do we need our cities to become more diverse? And I think, as humans, we're not at the top or even the center of our ecosystem. So we're a very small part of an amazing, complex, huge web of plants and animals and insects. And that's a system that helps to keep everything in balance on this earth. But the things that we do and the choices that we make can have a very, very big impact. For example, did you know that every second breath that we take is from the oxygen created by billions and billions of microalgae that live in our oceans?
Wow, that's fascinating.
It's unbelievable. And that the trees in our parks can help to clean our air and the air that we breathe, and that pollinators like bees and butterflies, they ensure that we have the food that we need. And finally, these teeny tiny things called microscopic organisms, they help to keep our soils healthy so that we can grow all the crops that we need to feed our friends and families. So all of these amazing things are biodiversity. And to improve it and to help the plants and the insects and the animals, including us, You know, in order to thrive, we need to reintroduce nature into our homes, into our gardens, into our neighborhoods, and right back into the heart of our cities at an absolutely massive scale.
I really love how everything's so interconnected. So what are your favorite examples of wild cities and buildings?
Oh, mate. Some of my favorite examples of wild cities and buildings are the Garden City in Singapore, you know, with its awesome super tree structures. The Bosco Verticale, it's a vertical forest skyscraper in Milan. And the coolest offices I've ever seen are in the Amazon spheres in Seattle. So, but actually, the truth is that if we all just slow down a little bit, wherever we are, we stand still and we stop, and we take time to look around ourselves closely enough, all around us in our cities, there are small signs of biodiversity just waiting to burst into life. But we really need to help them do this. And we need to help them do this by designing buildings and cities that help biodiversity thrive. You know, we have to create really wild cities.
I really love that. And it's just about really taking in what's around us all the time. So on that note, what are your top tips for designing buildings that work for human and nature?
Okay, well, here we go. Top tips. So designing buildings and wild cities that work for people and nature isn't hard. Okay, it's actually quite simple, but it does require us to change the way that we think. We need to stop thinking about people as being the most important part of our cities. And we need to start putting nature back at the center of every single thing that we do. We need to rip up those hard roads, that concrete car parks, the streets and the paths around us, and we need to replace them with natural and nature-based solutions. Wildflowers for pollinators, you know, fruit orchards for food security, trees to clean our air, and rain gardens that capture additional rainwater. You know, we need to design buildings with giant living walls full of plants to help keep our cities cool and give other animals and insects a place to live. But if we bring nature back into our cities, we will make people and our planet happier and healthier.
I really love that. Thank you so much, Dr. Ollie. We've had some really great responses in the chat as well. So we'll be asking you some more questions at the end. Back to you, David.
Priya, and thank you, Dr. Ollie. Always a pleasure to hear your words of wisdom. I love it, love it. So if you, as Priya said, if you've still got some more questions, do pop them in the chat for Ollie, and he'll get back to those soon. Now, we've also included some tips and tricks in our competition worksheet. So make sure you check that out when we email you it after this lesson. I'm sure you're thinking, where is that? It's going to be with you soon. And don't forget, every Build the Change Tuesday edition of our News Detectives is for the next 5 weeks, bursting with more examples of what real life innovators are doing to make cities better places for wildlife and nature and everything else. There's just time now to meet our final guest. Now, I'm here in the middle of London, inside a living and breathing example of urban biodiversity. I'm at the London Wildlife Trust Camley Street Reserve near King's Cross. And now I'm going to do a bit of seamless transition to another camera. So watch this. Here I go.
Wow, amazing. So I'll just read out some of those comments in the chat function while we wait for David to join our special guest. So yeah, just about how we're helping with how can we help with global warming. So we'll hopefully find out a bit more about that once we come towards the end of the session. But we're now joined with Fiona. So David, I will leave it with you.
Great. Can you hear us? A quick sound check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Amazing. Hi, Fiona. How are you doing?
I'm really well, thanks. The sun's come out.
I know, we had rain here a minute ago. I was looking at you guys standing out here, looking all miserable. So, Fiona, tell me what you do, where we are, what's your role?
Yeah, great. So we're in the middle of London. We're just behind King's Cross Station, and we're in a very little nature reserve run by London Wildlife Trust called Camley Street Natural Park. And I'm lucky enough to work here as the outdoor learning officer. So teaching people about nature, welcoming people onto site, making sure that it's a place for wildlife, but also for people as well.
Fantastic. Getting that passion across.
Absolutely, yeah.
So before we head that way because I'm really interested to see what's that way. Tell us a bit more about building. So we've got a building here behind us. There's some really cool solutions in here.
Yeah, there are.
nature.
So following on from what Ollie was saying about wildlife friendly buildings, I'll just point out a few features that we've got in our visitors centre here. So we've got up on the roof, we've got some bat boxes for bats to roost in. We've got some bird boxes underneath the eaves. We had a family of great tits nesting in there this springtime. We've also got permeable paving, which means that when it rains here, the water soaks through the paving down into the soil below and doesn't run off like it might do on roads or in car parks, and that might contribute to flooding. So that's a really great solution here as well.
It's like a flooding solution, but a natural one.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I love that. So tell us, why was a nature reserve built here?
Yeah, so this was a long time ago. This used to be a coal drops yard. So coal came down for the railways and was all distributed through London from this site. And then it was left abandoned really for a long period, and wildlife started to take over, and some local people realised that this might be a great place to develop a nature reserve. And so in early 1980s, about 40 years ago, this place was opened as a nature reserve for people to come and visit, to enjoy green space and to learn about wildlife. And since then, all the habitat's really grown up, and we now enjoy a real wide range of species coming to visit us and living here.
Amazing. Can we go and have a look?
Absolutely.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Let's go. So tell us, what have we got here?
We've got a very small nature reserve. We're not much bigger than a football pitch, and what we've got here is we've got a real wide variety of habitats. So here we've got a wildflower meadow. In the summertime, this is alive with colour, loads of different flowers, bees, butterflies, dragonflies, all sorts of invertebrates coming to visit, enjoy the pollen and the nectar from the flowers.
Fantastic.
And we've also got our wetlands, so the water actually runs off the roof and goes under secret
wow.
underneath the wildflower meadow and feeds the wetland area down here, which then goes into the pond that we'll come to in a minute. So
Fantastic.
yeah,
That's awesome. So you've worked out a way to use what other people might see as kind of almost waste to generate nature. I love that. I love that. And you mentioned earlier, I can hear a robin singing. That's nice. You mentioned earlier that this wetland area has some species living in it, and we're going to see more of that further down. But what kind of stuff do you see around here?
we've got some birds that come and visit us in the springtime called reed warblers, and they build their nest in here and raise their chicks. We also get coots living in the pond, moorhens.
Oh, nice.
Sometimes I see the fox sunbathing over there in the wildflower
in the middle of London.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's
so lots
crazy.
And lots of different animals, and also a wide variety of plants we've got growing here as well.
Now, I saw a picture earlier of what this site looked like when it was just rubble.
Yeah.
And now I can't believe how big these trees are. So these trees, how old are these trees here? Because they're big.
Yeah, so they're all, well, a bit younger than me, actually. They're all about 40 years old or less.
Oh, very young, very young. Now, we just passed a big wood pile. Is that just, why is that there? Is there a purpose to that?
Yeah, so we've got lots of log piles around site, and this is a really important microhabitat that you might include in your design, which basically means that lots and lots of mostly small animals, so things like earthworms, wood lice, toads and newts can use this to hide under and be safe as a place for them to live and shelter.
Fantastic. So a lot of amphibians would use that in winter just to hibernate. Fantastic. I love this. So if you can't see it, folks at home, we're walking through a corridor of green, and we're in the middle of London near King's Cross Station. Now, I remember this King's Cross Station when I was a kid, and this was not the image I had. I'm incredibly impressed. Now, we're coming up here to the main pond area. So tell us a bit about that. So great.
Yeah. So the pond is a really amazing habitat, and so important, you know, as a feature you might include in your design, because an awful lot of animals, especially insects and other invertebrates, start their life in the pond. So a tiny little larva, you might larva, damselfly nymph, and all sorts of things begin their life in a pond. And actually, I was here the other day in the evening, and the bats were swooping over the pond, enjoying all of those insects that, you know, start their life in the pond. So it's a really important, an important habitat to
So,
to know about. Yeah.
Fiona, a lot of people at home or in the classroom might be thinking mosquitoes, no thank you, but they're really important, aren't they? Anything like that's important.
Yes, so all of these tiny little animals act as part of the food chain and food web, feeding the bats and other birds and things like that that come to visit.
Amazing. Now, we were here earlier and we had some friends join us. There was a moorhen and a coot, and the moorhen had a very young bird with it, and they're very friendly. And of course, you know, live TV and all that, they're not here now. So you just have to trust me on that. Just have to trust me on that. So I'm wondering if you can get a view out onto this pond. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Now, you did, oh, there is a coot over there. You probably can't see it. You might be able to see it. It might come over when it hears us talking. Now, you mentioned earlier, sometimes you get a very special guest here, a bright blue guest.
Yes, very occasionally the kingfisher zips down the canal and comes and fishes over there in the pond. I haven't seen it for a little while, but that's always a really special day.
I bet. Have any of you at home or in the classroom, I keep saying at home, some of you are at home, have any of you seen a kingfisher before? Do tell us, drop it in the chat and tell us how you felt when you saw it. Now, we have a lot of different habitats here. What kind of shelter do we have? Why do animals need, what do they need really?
Yeah, so thinking about habitats, it's really important to think about what animals need. They need food, they need water, and they need somewhere to shelter, somewhere safe from predators and from the weather, but also somewhere safe to raise their family. So think about that in your design. You know, have you provided a wide variety of plants for different animals to eat? Is there water for them to drink? If you can hear the kids there in the background. But also, is there places for them to shelter? So this could be trees for them to build their nests. It could be log piles for them to shelter under. It could be bird boxes, bat boxes, things like that. There's a wide variety of things that you could include.
Definitely. I'm smiling because our bird friends are calling a lot. You might not be able to hear them, but they're making a lot of noise. Now, when you close your eyes, we talked about imagining 27 years from now. Yeah. What would be the perfect vision in 27 years on this site? What would you love to see?
Yeah, so what I would love to see is this place getting more and more mature, more and more developed, but also for it to be part of a network. So it not to be just on its own, you know, in London, but to be part of a network of green spaces and wild spaces all around. So if you think about a hedgehog trying to reach us here in the centre of London, it's struggled. There's too many roads.
Yeah.
But if we think about things called wildlife corridors, where wild spaces are joined up, then animals like hedgehogs, plants, and all sorts of wildlife can find their way, you know, safely and, you know, naturally to new places and really introduce wide species of different wildlife into new places.
That's
so
what
that
you
would
want
be
to see.
really, really exciting.
I would love to see that too, because at the moment it's just an island of beauty and we want it connected. I mean, hedgehogs have a lot of trouble with people's gardens, don't they? Because the fences and they can't get between gardens and stuff.
Right. So that's another thing you do is just make the hole for hedgehogs, but also for other wildlife.
Brilliant. Well, Fiona, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you today.
It's been great having come to visit.
And for everyone at home, one more time, the name of this wonderful reserve.
So it's Camberley Street Natural Park, and we're right in the middle of London near King's Cross Station.
What you're waiting for, guys? Come down and see Fiona and the team and have fun and enjoy. So that's all from us here. I'm going to hand back to Studio 3 with Natalie. Back to you guys in Studio 3. See you guys. Thanks, Fiona.
Amazing. Oh, thank you so much for that. That was amazing to see all that urban biodiversity in action. So we've given you loads and loads to think about, and we think you're hopefully going to be really ready to go and unleash your creativity on our challenge. So there's just a few things we want to recap on just before we send you off on your way and we try and get some time to answer some questions. So if I just show the slide of what's next, we want you to redesign and design your own wild city building for the future, reimagining a building or a space in a city that's special to you. You're going to have until the 7th of November to do this, which is the week after half term. So you've got plenty of time to put your ideas into action. And we've also created a little worksheet, which we're going to email to your teachers after the lesson. And there's loads of amazing prizes, obviously. So if you are one of our winners, you're going to win all of these things, which include an amazing creative workshop with a Lego designer. I really want to do that. A rewilding project, so it's something that Ollie's been talking about for your school, which is amazing. loads of Lego so you can carry on building the change in your classroom, and also the chance to come with us to a special event to put all of your ideas and your questions in front of sustainability leaders and really show them that you've got the answers. So a couple of ideas to get you started. I don't know if you've got ideas. If you have, share them in the chat. Are you going to come up with maybe a wild hotel with a wildlife wing and maybe, you know, 5-star accommodation for migrating birds? That would be pretty awesome. Or maybe you want to build a living library. We've got one similar in Birmingham, actually, with a beautiful garden, rooftop, perfect for reading, and living walls. Or maybe you want to redesign a city hospital, complete with squirrel runs that people can sit in front of big windows and watch nature rather than television. That sounds good. Okay,
so I think we've actually got some questions that have come through. We've got a couple of minutes to ask them. So I'm just going to ask Dr. Ollie a couple of questions, if that's okay, just for now. I'll just pin you there. Okay, so Dr. Ollie, in the chat, schools and teachers have been asking questions. So how can we help with global warming? I know that's quite a broad topic, but just if you can, in a few sentences, as individuals, how can we help with global warming?
I think first and foremost, think about the big web of things that we are part of. Think about the fact that we rely on animals, we rely on insects. And if we don't look after those things, if we don't look after nature, then we're in trouble. But second, there's loads of things that we can do, from just ensuring that we recycle, just ensuring that we challenge everybody's decisions. You know, we ask questions. Well, why are we doing this and why are we doing it that way? Is there a fossil-free alternative? And go away and plant a tree. You know, plant as many trees as you can, and that will help to get us a little bit closer to removing carbon from the atmosphere at a rate of knots.
I love that. Thank you so much, Dr. Ollie. And I think just about having that consciousness that, you know, we are part of the whole system. So that's what I really took from this session, is that we are very much part of that process, and we, you know, need to look after each other. Another question, what inspired you to do this work? What inspired you to go down your field?
Oh, it was a no-brainer, to be honest, Priya. It was something that I've just been drawn to throughout my whole career, and was really lucky to land in the company that I'm at, working with all of these crazy scientists and inventors and people that are trying to build bridges and buildings and cities that are super sustainable.
Excellent, thank you. And what about yourself, David? I'm going to pass it to you, that question. What would your sort of, I guess, inspiration to do the work that you do? It's okay, we'll get back to you, David, don't worry. If you can put yours in the chat, David, that'd be amazing if you can put that answer. But I think we're actually coming towards the end. Right, so everyone, we'll be sharing a recording of this lesson, so if you want to play back, you can. And the competition worksheet is going to be sent by email. But we'd love to hear your feedback. So on the screen, we've got a QR code. So any of the teachers or adults, please do take a picture of the QR code. So it's just a very short survey just to see how you found the session and how we can improve for the future. We hope you all enjoyed the session, and you know, it's been really great to have everyone here, especially the participants and our amazing experts. I'll just pass it to you, Natalie, if you had a few words.
I just want to say a big thanks to Holly Head. It's been amazing. Can you give them a big round of applause? And thanks to everyone, and we hope to see you on our next live lesson in January.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.